I've had so many.
I was muted on my stream. Lol.
Uh-oh.
I'm good now. But yeah. So.
I think it looks good. I've had so many records where like there's a bad echo or something, and just like, oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, the quality of the run itself is fine. It's just as far as like my encoding and stuff like that, it's just outdated because it was older. So
Yeah.
but yeah. You good to go?
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
Okay. So let me just push play and then. Yeah. So yeah, this is the RBO run. So, fun fact about my RBO run, or RBO in general, I guess, for me. So, reverse boss order, RBO, was my first world record in this game. I took the record from Zoast initially in 2018. Yes. I think it was like March 2018 or something. Zoast had a 103 at the time, 103.33 or 34.
103.37. It's lead.
103.37. My bad.
Leet. remember lead speak?
Yeah, I do. No, I'm old enough to remember that.
Okay. That's how I can remember that time. It's really ridiculous, but
yeah, no, that's fine. But yeah, it's, I beat it back then and I was really proud of it. I kept pushing it. I eventually got sub-hour later that year, and that was a big deal.
sub-hour was huge. That was amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And then I ran it at AGDQ 2019, and that was super cool. That was a really cool day in Super Metroid history. Oh, I need to fix the thing. That's right. Got it.
By the way, that was Zeni's first GDQ run, which I always, like, even at the time, I thought that's crazy, like, doing your first
GDQ as reverse boss order.
Yeah, I mean, GDQ at that time, by that time, I mean, even my first one was like, it's like 40,000 people watching, and by the time it's like over 100 or whatever.
Yeah, it was
1,000 people watching, so it's you can't really prepare for that.
It was near its peak of popularity, and what's
and to do this run as your first, oh my god.
Exactly. What is so funny about it is that because I hadn't done any marathon runs, I was nervous, but I wasn't nearly as nervous as I should have been. Because, like, it was just whatever, like, I'm good at RBO. I've been grinding it for, like, over a year, and it'll be fine. And it was fine, but it should not have been. That run should have been a disaster.
I was going to ask you if it felt like more of an overload than you weren't nervous. Sometimes I feel like there's a time or two where I was just, like, so overloaded, where I was just like, you know what? Whatever.
Yeah.
and then I calmed down somehow, but it was a weird way, like, it wasn't just like that, didn't care, or
for sure.
I was so cool about it or anything.
So what I can say is I was so nervous I was shaking until I got on stage and started playing and made a couple mistakes, and then I was fine. And part of the reason that I was fine at that point was because of something that's coming up here. So earlier, we mentioned most categories, Super Metroid early game is the same. Like, it's very much the same category to category to category. The exception to that out of these four is this run. So instead of going up and left here, we go up and right. That's to do something called Taco Tank, which is stupid, but fun. Zoast was mad at me that it was in the run for a while, and then he got good at it, and then he wasn't mad anymore.
I was pissed off. I was throwing things around, breaking my light fixtures and stuff.
So that was the first try Taco Tank. I'll just pause here real quick. Just to put it into perspective, it's a triple frame perfect with a coin flip trick. So coin flip means that even if you do everything correctly, there's a 50% chance it just won't work. If you get it first try, it saves like 40 seconds. And if you don't get it within a few tries, then it's basically a reset. So yeah, it's just I don't know. It kind of sucks that it's in the run, but it's also kind of super cool that it's in the run. It just, that's just how it is. So,
Yeah, I mean it's really early, so
it is very early in the run. I think if it were much later at all, I never would have bothered. But
one of my least favorite parts about it is that it makes the moon dance almost sort of. It puts almost pressure on you
It
to
does.
get the moon dance at that point. You don't want to like go back again.
Exactly. You don't want to mess up moon dance, which makes you want to go slower, but you can't go too slow or else you'll lose too much time during moon dance. It adds this definitely some weird wrinkles to that as well, for sure.
This run has got just a lot of sort of tough tricks that kind of can determine the run one way or the other.
Yeah.
A lot of hurdles to jump over, if you will. And
jank. We can just be honest. This run has a lot of jank. But, that's part of the charm, I think. So,
yeah. You don't want any... If you don't want any jank, play any percent 08.
Right.
Well, it's less janky.
Yeah, far less, I'll say.
There's a spectrum of jank from the categories.
Mm-hmm. So because we have an extra missile pack, we can actually do BT a little faster here. And this extra missile pack will continue saving us a little bit of time here and there for the next few minutes. So that's another thing that makes Taco Tank worth it, is having the extra missiles. So. But yeah, I guess we should probably talk about what reverse boss order even means. So reverse boss order in this context is referring to the 4 golden statues. So we do not fight Mother Brain first. What it is we go and fight Ridley in Norfair, and then Draon in Maridia, and then Phantoon in Wrecked Ship, and then Cray in Brinstar. And if you think about that for a couple seconds, you might realize, okay, well, Cray is guarding Varia Suit, which protects you from heat damage, and Phantoon is guarding Gravity Suit, which lets you move freely in water. And so conceptually, this run is really cool because of the restrictions on boss order, because it forces you to do a lot of risky, flashy, and kind of like obscure movement tech in order to survive and also get from place to place quickly that you wouldn't really see in most other categories. So yeah, that's the short version of that. We do need this reserve tank, so having the extra missiles allows us to get through this door earlier. Again, so that's another time save from grabbing the extra missile pack with Taco Tank. And then we go and get early supers here. And then the next thing that's going to happen, this throws a lot of people off when they're watching this run. So we're going to get stuck in some blocks and then start kind of jumping and wiggling back and forth. What we're going to be doing is 176 consecutive moonfalls that are continuously buffering our fall speed until Samus is falling so fast that she can fall through a single tile. So I put this into the run when I got the record, and it caused some controversy, but people have lovingly started referring to it as Moondance. There's some emotes about Moondance, and I think in terms of reverse boss order, it is kind of cool that it exists here. Just because again, there's so many like weird things in reverse boss order, and this just kind of does go along that theme, that general theme. But it will.
Yeah, I mean, if this became in every category, it would be kind of annoying. Maybe.
Agreed.
Maybe more so, but
that's kind of why it's cool. It's really only faster in this category and other like obscure categories. So
it doesn't feel out of pocket for an RBO run. I mean, RBO has historically had a lot of crazy stuff. If you don't know, historically RBO is not even like in its current form for quite a while, reverse boss order, you're not allowed to do major glitches, which is going out of bounds. Is probably the biggest one. You can do a lot of weird things out of bounds, but we didn't used to do anything too crazy out of bounds or anything like that. Even though at times I did route like some very heavy out of bounds into the category at one point, but it's gone through so many different iterations. It's just, I was saying earlier, like an hour ago, that like back in the day, it seemed like almost every record was a completely different route, almost, or at times it was like that.
Yeah.
But everything's so streamlined now. Since you're going to Ridley first, stuff like this, like breaking into this area with you're not supposed to be able to, it allows you to sort of streamline your movement from the top of the map around the left through Brinstar, like we're at now, and still pick up everything along the way, so you don't have to circle back around and then back down again, because ultimately our first objective is to defeat Ridley, and that's pretty much what we're doing. We're preparing. This whole prelude to Ridley is preparing for that, basically.
Yeah, the first half of the run is all about getting the resources needed to survive the Ridley fight. Like, quite literally, that's everything that we do here. That's why. Geo asked in your chat if it won't work with 175 moonfalls, and it will not, because Samus's fall speed is not fast enough yet at that point. So if you do 175 moonfalls and then you mess up, you have to start over. Yeah, this whole segment of the run is just item collection. There are a lot of cool strats for the item collection, but really, like was already mentioned, we're just getting energy tanks and missile packs and super missile packs and power bombs so that we can survive. This is a pretty cool gate glitch here. So there's a gate up in the top right that we're going to shoot with a super missile off screen to open it. I really like that strat.
Yeah, I like how we have two kind of almost super plus camera position glitches to get both of these items in the sort of east side of
yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's really interesting. Like taking advantage of the camera position and shooting a super from the exact right spot to make it work. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's crazy. Man, this game's so cool. I love this game, dude.
Yeah, so going this way with doing that moon dance and not coming back here. If you come back here, if you like do a, I guess you'd call that a double Norfair or whatever. Is that right?
Yeah.
You get speed booster, then leave.
Yep.
So you can come back and you have a couple more options, like getting that E-tank underneath charge beam. But the run's got streamlined enough to where try to cut out as much as possible.
Yeah. So if we hadn't done Taco Tank, we'd have to go get it right now. But because we got it earlier, we can skip all of that backtracking and just go in there, grab the power bombs, and then leave. What else is there to talk about coming up here? So we're gonna go grab Spazer. In Zoast's record back in when I first broke it in 2018, Zoast's record actually didn't grab Spazer, and it grabbed a bunch of missiles instead. What I ended up doing back then was dropping the missiles and grabbing Spazer. And what's funny is I did that because Zoast's route was actually too hard for me. And then it ended up being faster anyway.
Forgot. You may have told me that.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't do the Ridley fight with the extra X factors. I just couldn't do it. I was like, screw this! I'm just gonna grab Spazer. This is stupid. And then like I timed it out again, and it was faster. I was like, oh. So yeah.
Did I get Warfare Reserve?
Yeah. Yep. That's another thing that I dropped.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, Spazer is actually pretty goated in this category, which is funny because we do end up grabbing plasma later, and usually you only want one or the other. But Spazer just so happens to save enough time to make it worth it in this category, which is pretty interesting. Kind of cool, actually, to think about.
There's a lot of that gold Frieza fight.
Yeah, a big part of it is that, yeah, which we can talk about. So you'll notice that Samus's health is constantly depleting here. That's because these are heated rooms and we do not have Varia suit. So that is going to be a common theme for the next, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes of the run. Because again, we can't grab Varia because it's locked behind Cray. So all of the routing here and all of the item acquisitions and everything, it's all centered around this idea that we need to not die from heat damage. So, for example, going and getting Ice Beam first, the reason that we do that is because we're going to grab an energy tank down here, which will then refill us to full. If we grabbed the energy tank earlier and then went to Ice Beam and then tried to do the next section of the run, we wouldn't have enough energy to make it through the next hell run. So that's why we do things in this order.
What's interesting is like doing this optimal route is arguably harder or easier than some of the hell runs you might have to do. Just go straight to Upper Norfair.
Double Norfair actually has more difficult hell runs than this version. Yep, that's true.
But you pay for it in Lower Norfair.
You do, absolutely.
In this route.
What's up, Mushroom Bells?
I think my first route, like I want to say my first run of this category was a 2 E-Tank plus reserve hell run.
Yeah, that's rough.
That was like in 2013.
We watched the low ice run before this, and we're like 10, 12 minutes into this run.
And then I went to Maridia twice, so.
Double Maridia actually has some really cool.
Double Maridia is cool, but it's just very slow.
It is
Maridia
very
2 times.
slow. Yeah. That's cool.
You can get a lot of extras for sure.
Cool swag though.
Yeah.
So, okay. This farm looks really annoying. Honestly, it's not as bad as it looks. It's kind of nice to just mindlessly sit here for like a minute. But the idea is we need to get our energy up high enough that we're refilling our reserves. We don't have to do that before Speed Booster, but we do after. Before Speed Booster, we need to make sure we have enough energy to make it there and back. But yeah, pretty much any farm like that is for the sake of refilling energy and or super missiles. So
the randomness of that farm. Because sometimes it can skew towards small energies instead of large energies, and you can just start losing time for no reason.
Yep. There's a lot of RNG in this category. And most of that RNG is centered around your farms. Some of it is like Draon boss pattern or Phantoon boss pattern, but most of it is just, did I get big energies or small energies, and did I get the super missiles that I needed? So. I didn't even get reserves there. Man.
That's what I was thinking. You said you were going to get reserves.
No, I've apparently forgotten how to run this category. Well, GG.
How long is this? How old is this run now?
So it's a little over 2 years old at this point. So it's been a bit. People keep asking me to go back to it, and I don't want to because I'm so happy with the way that this run turned out. Like,
tempted to play it again.
Yeah, I just, you know. And I want to leave the next minute milestone for someone else. Like, if you were to come back and get the 55, I might consider running it again, but otherwise I'm good. Like, I'll probably never push for another record in this category until someone else does it, if ever. So. All right, so now we're going down to Crocomire, I think.
That's correct, Crane. Supers are the best item you can get really at this point. Just about. I mean, obviously something like grapple or ice beam is crucial, but other than for a minor item, even E-tanks or anything like super is better than the E-tank at this point.
Yeah. Yep. So this fight's pretty cool. You can get extra shots in, which I'm pretty sure I did here. Yep. So basically we want to scoot Crocomire back as quickly and efficiently as possible. Some of that is RNG, some of it is execution. We don't want those swipes that he was doing because each of those adds like a second or something. But typically you're going to get somewhere between 2 and 4 swipes in a fight. If you get no swipes, that's like super, super good. But you can also get like 10 swipes, which is really awful. So that's just another, there's a lot of RNG in this category. I just shot a door through the right wall. That's called a wraparound shot. Without getting into the weeds too much, basically there's a copy of the room on the right side. So we shot the door on the left of the room through the right side of the room. It's not, like, it's hard to do accidentally, but if you know the setup, it's not hard to do either. So.
Found that out to give yourself a little extra space there to try to get that.
Yep.
Short charge.
Okay. So now we're gonna go grab grapple beam. That might sound kind of weird that we need grapple beam in a speedrun category. That isn't 100%, but honestly, grapple beam makes this category so much faster than it would be otherwise, and also more possible than it would be otherwise. For 2 reasons. So 1, we can use grapple beam to farm items. So if you shoot an item drop with grapple beam, it will pick it up, which is super cool. And the other thing is grapple beam helps us with a lot of movement in maridia. So, dude, that's the best mock ball in the game, and I've missed it on every important run ever. Okay.
You know those big ski jumps? Those like where they go down and then do like a huge jump.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the mock. That's the mock ball version.
Dude. I never realized that until you said it. That's the perfect analogy. Okay, so we're full on energy, we're full on missiles, we're full on supers, and we're full on power bombs. Now you notice we have 20, 15, and 15 for missiles and supers and power bombs. That is very important because we have to have enough to crystal flash, and we need enough supers to do damage fast enough in lower Norfair to survive. Also, the 20 missiles does matter. You can do it with 15, but most of the time you're going to lose any time that you would save by skipping the missile pack, so we just do 20. Okay, so this lava dive is pretty cool. Basically, you just jump in certain ways and do wall jumps at the right spots. But then you also need to be ready to crystal flash, so... So for people who don't know, Crystal Flash uses your ammo to replace your energy. So it requires 10, 10, and 10 of each ammo type, and you also need to have an extra power bomb to drop. So you can say you need 11 power bombs for Crystal Flash. There's some edge cases there that it will work with 10, but most of the time you need 11.
You have to be next to an enemy that's gonna almost guarantee. There's a few enemies that will almost guarantee you a power bomb drop. And if you can time out to where you do it at that right next to them, then That's basically the only time you can do it with 10 max.
Yeah. So that was another gate glitch there. You see a little farming action there with the grapple beam too. It's pretty cool. And then we actually come back in here for more farming. And honestly, like if that doesn't illustrate how important super missiles are, I don't know what would. Like the fact that we literally reload that room to get more supers. Like they are so important.
Do they do double damage on GT?
I don't think so. It's just that they do good damage, like fast. So, well, maybe they do actually. Man, I don't remember. Huh. Well, I'll have to look into that.
The only problem with supers on GT is that GT will grab the first one.
Yeah.
So that you're not getting every. You're only getting like, what is it? Is it 4 out of 5?
Yeah, if you time it correctly, you get 4 out of 5. So we use a bunch of super missiles here to do a bunch of damage to GT. And then we also do charge shots with the Ice Wave Spazer Beam combo, which, as I mentioned earlier, Spazer makes a huge difference with how long it takes to finish this fight. This farming strat's also pretty cool. So we did use the supers because they're worth it, but we also need to get some back.
Yeah.
So that's why I was doing those farms there.
Do another Crystal Flash to refill. Oh, we just really want them for Ridley too. I guess it's more about the Crystal Flash at this point.
Yeah, so the reason that we even went to fight GT in the first place is actually for the super missiles. Very conveniently, Screw Attack also happens to be right there, and it is extremely beneficial in this category. But yeah, if we didn't need those super missiles that badly, we would not bother fighting GT. Like, the whole reason we go and fight GT is for those supers.
Right, so Ridley takes double damage from supers, which would be 600 damage instead of 300 damage.
Yep.
The best charge beam you can have at this point does 300 damage. But charge beam is a lot slower, like the cooldown is a full, complete second of cooldown between shots, where supers you can pelt them out pretty quickly. I'm not sure the exact DPS, but
it's once every 20 frames, so it's 3 times the DPS.
Yeah.
So Screw Attack does really help here. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, the fact that your energy is draining during the fight, like one E tank is still not as good as, like, an extra E tank is definitely not as good as the supers. Well, first of all, because the supers make the fight just go quicker, but like way quicker. But I want to say that each super pack is gonna save you more health by just speeding up the fight than the tank. I don't know exactly how many E tanks would be equivalent to, but it would be more than one, I would say.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. The other thing is, we, at this point in the run, we've grabbed every super missile that is accessible that doesn't take forever to grab. So, like, you could argue dropping an energy tank for another super missile pack, but it's going to be slower. You could you could theoretically actually drop one more energy tank than what this route grabs, but it would take the consistency of survival down like a huge amount. And the other thing is you would end up having issues with your energy starting in Maridia all the way through the end of the game. Like you just run into a bunch of problems if you don't have this many energy tanks. So
I would imagine it'd make health bump too, which is kind of be problematic a lot of times.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a bit of a diminishing return on how aggressively you want to push the energy. I feel it does backfire at some point, even if you survive.
For sure. So, similar to low ice, this room can just decide that your run is over, because you have to sit and farm these bugs until you're full on supers, which you can see we're full now, but the problem is our energy's gone. So what we have to do is time a Crystal Flash correctly and then start farming again. And from here, we need to get our supers back to full. And sometimes these bugs will just drop you a bunch of energy instead, like for forever. So it's just another aspect of the run that is very, very RNG dependent.
How annoying would a regular Carbon drop be right here?
Super.
Okay.
Super annoying.
I didn't know if there was any benefit to like getting your Crystal Flash ammo.
Yeah, I mean, it can be helpful. But for the most part, you know, we can get the power bombs that we need back from the violas or whatever.
I do remember thinking those were kind of unlucky drops because they're like 2% drops. And this is the one time a few times where you're like, I really don't want those rare.
Right.
Kind of funny.
Yep, so this fight is all based around doing enough damage fast enough to survive before the heat damage kills you. It's both easier and harder than it looks, strangely. So the nice thing about Ridley in this category is he's way more predictable in this category than he is in most other categories.
I think my fight was like completely manipulated.
Yeah. The thing that
wasn't Aussies like that too, or
it might have
the screw attack
been.
on the left side.
Yeah. So you can do like a screw attack jump to the left to force him to turn around and pogo. This is RBO, yes. But yeah.
So the fact that you can almost I don't know, yours is not like that, is it?
No,
you have to react in some cases.
Yeah, so if you know how to react depending on which pattern he gives you, it's better not to. Like, it's just a little faster and more. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, what I was gonna say is, like, even though the fight is like almost scripted, if you make any mistakes, you're just dead. So it's still really hard. It's just a different kind of hard than like any percent or 100% or low ice or whatever.
Yeah, y'all, it's not just about the fact that we're losing energy constantly. It's the fact that we're taking way more damage because we have no suits when you're expected to have all the suits, and therefore, like, what is it, 75% damage reduction?
Yeah, yep. Gravity gives 75%. So we have enough power bombs that we don't need to go grab the extra pack to the left here, which is pretty nice. I did have to refarm both of the pirates for more supers, but we ended up with enough, so that's the main point there. There's a little time lost, but not crazy. And again, like, screw attack makes such a big difference here, because you don't have to worry about manipulating these key hunters in a specific way or waiting for them to move out of the way or anything. You can just go through them. So coming up here, so I'm intentionally taking damage here so that I can do a crystal flash to have the energy that I need for the rest of the escape here. And then I'm going to do something here called a spike suit. This is the first spike suit we're seeing in any of these runs. So basically, if you unmorph on the correct frame and then press jump again after taking damage from spikes, you'll activate a shine spark that you can then carry indefinitely until you use it. So the movement from there for the next few minutes of the run, I currently have a shine spark. This actually really complicates the movement because any movement that you would do that would normally activate a shine spark still will. So if you do a straight jump, for example, you're going to use it, or if you press up in a spin jump, or if you press angle up in a spin jump, or like any sort of thing like that, you're going to lose the shine spark, which in this category would lose a lot of time. The caveat to that is that you can do straight jumps when you're underwater as long as you are holding the shoot button. I forget exactly why, but so you'll see me doing some straight jumps once we get to Maridia, but
how much time is the shine spark through the 20 tank?
Yeah, so a long time ago, we used to say it was like 40 seconds or like a minute or whatever. When I was doing
that's more than I remember.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah, no. When I was doing this category, when we were doing this category together, we found out that it's not actually quite that much. It's definitely still a time save. A lot of the time save depends on whether you need to go back and farm again or not, but it is a time save regardless. It's like, I want to say it's like 20 to 30 seconds optimally. That just depends on your movement and stuff like that. So
that's both like the frame perfect Shine Spark setup to get the Shine Spark, and then your movement being restricted, and if you make the wrong, like during at any point, just accidentally below the stored Shine Spark.
Yeah. So we're gonna do a gravity jump here, and keep in mind, like I said, we have to hold on to the Shine Spark. So that's why we did a morph there, because otherwise pressing up would have activated the Shine Spark. Now, all of the movement here in Maridia is based on freezing enemies in the correct position and doing crouch jumps in the right spots. What's really funny about Suitless Maridia is that when I was first learning RBO, I really was not looking forward to Suitless Maridia. It sounded both very tedious and also very intimidating to me, and it actually ended up being my favorite part of the run. So there's a lot of really cool movement tech in the next few minutes.
I love this series of. I mean, grapple is just so awesome.
Yeah.
Grapple strats are just some of my favorite.
So I grabbed those power bombs because we needed power bombs to be able to crystal flash and also to be able to, get through these blocks and stuff here. So yeah, those were very important drops there. These are called grapple jumps. So if Samus is swinging upwards and you morph and then unmorph, you'll be able to jump out of the sitting pose, interestingly. And keep in mind, I still have the Shine Spark. It's funny, like...
I remember when I came back to this and I was kind of dreading this part, like, 'cause it's so long that you have to hold that without making a mistake.
Yeah.
But it ended up not being as bad as, like once I started doing it.
Yeah.
And learning it, it wasn't as bad.
You kind of just learn the movement and then it's fine. But yeah.
It's still scary. I mean, don't get me wrong.
For sure. So that was a really good Botchwoon fight. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a Shine Spark in the next room. I want to say you want at least 14 supers here. So since I only have 13, I'm pretty sure we're going to go back and farm. Nope. Okay. I'm wrong again.
Hey!
So yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, where some of the time save there depends on whether you need to backtrack back to some bugs and farm. But I didn't have to do that in this run, so... Falling, you do not want to fall into the sand here. It is very difficult to get out without dying. If you do. It's possible, but it's dicey.
Basically just get stuck there unless you really know. Wiggle yourself out of it.
Yeah.
It takes a very specific series of inputs, though.
All right, so we're breaking the turrets, and then we're going to damage down. And the reason for that is that we need to be able to Crystal Flash. That sounds kind of weird to Crystal Flash in the middle of a boss fight. But the reason we do it is because if a Crystal Flash gets interrupted, you end up with a Shine Spark, just like a Spike Suit, basically. And we actually need that in order to be able to escape here. Thank you, Nintoaster.
Yeah, you can also, the old way to escape would be to get X-ray and then
do an X-ray.
Do an X-ray climb. Yeah. And that X-ray climb, I believe, is considered inbounds.
Yeah, you never go technically out of bounds for it.
Is that allowed in the RBO current?
I mean, there's people have said both. I don't really care personally.
Yeah, I don't.
One thing to note is with this Dragon fight, you do not want swoops. I got a couple swoops in this fight, so that added just a little time. It's not a huge deal, but... Alright, so we're gonna collect these.
I love watching her walk underwater with the echoes. There's something cool about the slow motion movements with the echo trails.
For sure.
Makes me remember like when I won solitaire and
the Zoast lore. All right, we're gonna do another grapple jump here. I make this look really easy. It's not. Just so you know, that grapple jump is really jank. Okay, and then we're gonna use a shine spark here. If we didn't have a shine spark here, we would just be stuck. So like Zoast said, the alternative there is to have X-ray and do X-ray climbs. You cannot. It's literally impossible to get out of there, even for tasks. On this version of the game, if you don't have one of those things. So pretty crazy. From here, go ahead.
That grapple jump out of Draon can be scary too if you start messing it up, because it costs energy to hold that grapple onto the spike and onto the electricity.
And it requires energy to shine spark. So if you use too much, you also just get stuck.
So you're kind of on a timer of how many times you even attempt that.
So we are going to go grab plasma. What's interesting about this category is plasma saves time because we have to go to wreck ship next. If we did not have to go to wreck ship next, it would not save time. So it's kind of interesting to think about that. But because we have to go to wreck ship next, and because of the time that it saves on Mother Brain, it ends up being faster to detour here and grab plasma anyway.
Did I skip this?
Did you skip this?
Did
what?
I get plasma?
In your old run?
I didn't skip plasma.
No,
right?
you got it.
Yeah.
I mean, because you skipped Spazer.
I think it...
Can you imagine doing the Mother Brain fight with just wave? Wave and ice?
I guess not.
That would suck, man.
I thought I remembered like having one run where I skipped it. I don't know.
I mean, maybe you did. It wasn't the old record though.
I would have had Spazer though, I would imagine. Done that. It's weird too because I mean, like the first time I got records in this category was just there was nobody. It was like the first runs, the speed runs of the category almost. I mean, you could argue there's some other ones that count as well, but
yeah,
they were one of the first. At least we'll just say that. And I just remember like I hadn't even really worked out this later part of the run because it was so tense trying to figure out how to get through Ridley. Just
right?
doing that,
yeah. For sure.
So you kind of overlook some of the movement through plasma and these kind of areas.
And that's a lot of the time save that I found when I was first running this category too. It was just like optimizing cool movement through these rooms, which is also cool because you don't normally see these rooms. So it's fun to figure out how to go fast. Somebody was asking, can't you just underwater wall jump to get out of Draon? No, you cannot. Even Task cannot. Samus physically cannot jump high enough to get out in this version of the game. You can in the PAL version, but not in this version. This is a really cool short charge here. I really like this strat. I think I get it. Hopefully I got it. Yeah. I remember when I was practicing for my run at GDQ in 2019, I was in somebody's room. I don't know why we were there, but I was in somebody's room and we were practicing. So I wasn't even playing on like a CRT. I had a bunch of like input lag on like an HD TV or whatever. And they were just like, it was playful, but they were just talking so much crap on me constantly. And then I just whip out that Shine Spark strat and they're like, okay, that was pretty cool. Like they couldn't even, they're like, fine, that was cool.
trying to remember if that's in map.
It probably is. Maybe. So, funny thing about this Phantoon fight, you could go for a 1-round Doppler, but a 2-round is so free with plasma that I didn't even bother trying.
I think one of the reasons I saved the animals this run I did before we got the record first time. I think part of that was because Phantoon was like a slow or something. There's like a slow pattern. I was just like, well, I can't beat. I didn't feel like I could get the 102, so I was just like, you know what? I'll just get the animals.
I don't remember exactly. I don't remember exactly what it was, but yes, your Phantoon was a train wreck in your old run. I think you like missed your plasma shot while he was off screen, and he ended up disappearing, and it was like a 3rd round or like something. Like it was bad, whatever it was. So, yeah. You also, it was before Moonfall, and you also bonked on climb on the way down. Like you were goofing off, weaving through the platforms, and you just like hit one of them. You're like, whatever. It ended up being the record.
Yeah, I don't know if I planned to do that. I can't remember. I want to say it wasn't necessarily planned.
What's the time save for plasma in wrecked ship? So plasma doesn't save time in wrecked ship. It's just that it's on the way to wrecked ship. And so the detour is a lot less than it would be otherwise. And then plasma saves a bunch of time on Mother Brain.
The reaction when I did that on Twitch chat at the time, favorite reaction that I've ever elicited out of it.
The animals?
I guess you would say a crowd. Yeah, it's going to the animals.
I'd have to go back and look at that. I would definitely.
I mean, it wasn't
a different perspective like, now than I had before.
It wasn't like crazier than any other important event, like too much crazier, but it definitely surprised some people, and they were just getting a kick at it. It was a good time.
Yeah. All right, so we're fighting Cray now, finally, after all this time. Something that's pretty funny. People often ask, why don't you grab Varia? And it's because by the time you get to this point of the run, you just really don't need it anymore. It would be slightly helpful versus Mother Brain, but not really. So we just don't.
It's got to be pretty significant time loss. At least like 15 seconds, I would say. 20 with the 2 kind of.
Yeah.
And the fanfare plus the suit animation.
Yep, and then 2 doors, which are like 3 seconds each. Yep, so we just kill Cray and then leave. You really don't want to hit Mini Kraid there, by the way. He does a ton of damage when you don't have suits.
Yeah. It's really easy to die to me.
And
yeah.
It might not look like it or sound like it, but you actually do want to focus on energy conservation at this point in the run, because things in Turian hit really hard, and you need enough energy to be able to do stand-up glitch during the Mother Brain fight. So it's actually pretty.
Don't the Metroids drain you faster?
They do, yeah. Like significantly faster.
It's just Varia that is that right? It's just Varia that counts.
So the baby Metroid just looks for Varia, just like the Rainbow Beam. I think regular Metroids, I might be wrong on this, I think regular Metroids take both into account.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on that. So. We do not get Gravity Suit in this run, because again, by the time we could grab it, it wouldn't be helpful anymore. It'd just be really slow. Gravity is a huge detour.
Yeah, that's a big detour.
Were there any major mistakes in this? There have been little mistakes throughout. The movement is also 2 years old. I mean, not that I was bad at movement when I got this run. I was pretty good at it by then. But
It's a pretty solid run.
I'm better now. There's also some bad RNG in a couple places. Like, this run is definitely improvable, but it's so, like, as far as what I wanted out of an RBO run, it checked all the boxes, which is why I have no interest in going back to it, because any run that I could get, I would be less satisfied with. It's guaranteed. So. We made it.
Metroid rooms are kind of challenging. It's like Metroid 1.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The Metroid rooms in this category are... So they're challenging in the sense that they're similar to 100%, but not quite the same. And also in the sense that if you get grabbed, you're going to lose a lot more energy than you would because you don't have any suits. So yeah, they're pretty... I'd say they're pretty difficult. They're not quite like 100% or GT Classic level of difficulty, but pretty rough.
I just think the first one because it feels hard to... I forget what it is to cleanly do the first few Metroids without falling in the...
Yeah, so I think
bottom.
I think I actually just opt to fall in.
Oh, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I didn't used to, and then I remember I was posting, asking about it, and I think Static 9 was like, just dip in the acid. And I was like, there's no way that's better. And then I tried it, and it was. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, but I mess up. So, yeah. So...
You're going for... it looked like you were going for the space jump into the super shot.
Yeah, I was, but you don't actually clear the ledge. You take a little dip into the acid and then jump out.
Alright.
But yeah.
It's still tough to do that space jump into super, so that's kind of tough.
Yeah. So this was my first, this run specifically was my first PB that had, no, that's a lie. It was my first world record that had Stachio Skip. Stachio Baby Skip was discovered like 3 months before this run, 5 months before this run. Like it was pretty recent. So the other thing is that Stachio Baby Skip with Plasma is actually quite a bit different than with Spazer. So yeah, but it's cool. It's a cool strat.
Really hope to see some sort of breakdown of all the changes in video form, good video form.
That would be super cool. I hope that happens someday.
Yes. I don't know the best way to do that, but it'd be cool to see, I think.
Alright, so we have the Mother Brain fight. Like I mentioned earlier, Plasma saves a bunch of time here, so we only need 20 charge shots. So really the only, like, it's not free, because Mother Brain can do some janky patterns and stuff sometimes and you just die. But for the most part, this fight is not scary, but you can lose a lot of time depending on when she does catch up.
Get rid of that stinking ketchup RNG.
Yep. 17, 18, 19. Oh, no, that was 20. Okay, so that
was pretty good right there.
That was really good.
Yeah.
It was almost really bad, but it was actually really good. So. Another thing is, we do stand up in this category, but this run was before the 2 Cries manipulation had been found, and so that is one thing that could save a bunch of time in this category because we don't have the newer stand-up manipulation. So it's like
I'd say
3 seconds, 4 seconds. It's substantial. I guess we can just count the cries. That's
just skip screw attack.
3, 4, 5. So it's like 3 seconds. Just skip screw attack? Who said that?
It's the exclamation mark just skip screw attack.
That'll save a bunch of time.
Yeah, just do that.
Yeah, there are people with strong opinions about that. That's all I'm gonna say. As far as I know, they're not around anymore.
Definitely, I'm sure that I've looked into that.
I did.
Yeah.
Like, it's possible to survive, but then you end up losing a bunch of movement time and stuff.
Is there any other like ideas that you've had since this point? Ways this could be improved
for RBO?
Yeah, like realistically, I mean.
I had a thought. I don't remember what it was. It did revolve around something that was like really awful for the Ridley fight, though. I remember thinking it, being like, I'm never touching that. So, yeah, but now we're in the escape. Now, what's funny is, in the grind previous to this one, I had a run where I was like a minute ahead of pace. Now, that run would not have ended up being as good as this run's time, but it was such a good run for the time. People were like going crazy, and I'm in the escape, and everybody's like dropping gift subs and bits, and everybody's cheering, and I'm like, stop, the run's not over. And what happened was I missed this shine spark right here, and I lost all of that time. So that was the thing that happened. Thankfully, it did not happen in this run. Nice jump ball there.
Nice. Yeah, I like that.
And time. It was 50, Arian. Somebody dropped 50 gift subs, and then I lost my entire lead. Anyway. Yeah, very cool run. Like I said, RBO is pretty special to me. It's, you know, my first world record, and what's really cool about reverse boss order is I mentioned earlier that I love challenge runs, like challenges in games in general, and so reverse boss order in Super Metroid is really cool because it kind of brings both of my favorite things together in terms of like it's a challenge run and it's a speed run, and it has really cool stuff. So
I gotta shout out Desi because learning this category about watching Desi's old playthroughs of this, which I would consider fast enough to be a speedrun. It was like 3 hours or something.
yeah, shout outs to Desi for sure. He did a lot for our community that I think a lot of people that are in the community now don't realize just how instrumental he was. So
there's a lot of people, obviously. There's too much to try to exhaustively list, but Desi's a big one, especially when the time period, the first the time period that I was active until 5 years ago. I can't remember exactly when Desi stopped being quite as present online.
Yeah, he still pops into chat now and then. It's always really good to see him. But yeah,
he's always doing theory tasks and coming up with ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's got an eye for the game for sure. Well, so we have 2 other runs to watch. I don't have time tonight, and I think you need to go to bed soon too, right? So
yeah, I'm gonna wind down soon.
Cool.
When are we doing this again? What day did you say you wanted?
So we can do it on Friday if you want to. That's what you were saying. If you'd rather pivot to another day, that's fine too. So
No, Friday's fine.
okay, sounds good.
Just gonna do the other two categories, right? 80% hundo.
Yep, should be roughly the same amount of time. Because any is shorter and hundo is longer. So, but yeah. Again, I really appreciate you being willing to hang out and chat, watch these runs. It means a lot, and
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people out there that are probably very interested in your take on everything too. So yeah, thank you. That being said,
It's fun to do something a little different.
yeah, we should do this kind of stuff more often. Also, we still need to do RoboCop. Shameless plug, because we just watched RBO. So
I just watched that movie a few days ago for the first time ever.
I've never seen it. So yeah, but
it's interesting. I don't know if you would want to, you know. I mean,
but we got to do the
violent.
run, man. Got to do the run. We've
It's
been
pretty
saying we're
violent,
gonna
but
do
it's funny. Yeah.
What is it, like 3 years now? We'll do RoboCop soon. Then something comes up. But
There was 2 or 3 times where that movie just made me laugh out loud. Really, even though it's like a dark movie, there's a couple moments that just made me just out laughing.
yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna sign off here. Twitch, I will find you guys a raid. Zoast, thank you again, and we can reconvene for the other 2 runs on Friday. So
Sounds good to me.
It's starting over. Stop it. Stop. All right.
Congrats again on everything.
Thanks, man.
The runs are amazing, man.
I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody.
Have a good night.
You too.